time to dive beneath the surface and into the minds and hearts of your favorite celebrities and pop culture icons. Welcome to Up and Adam.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. And all right, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 6, Episode 4. But you guys know how this works. When I do lives, I don't like doing them by myself and telling you about the episode because you can just watch the episode. Instead, I like to bring on a few of my favorite content creators, YouTubers, whatever you want to call us. So today we have DJ Richie Skye. With that, let's bring him right up.
How's it going? I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, man. It's been a long time.
It has been a very long time since Salt Lake City.
But you know, we've heard a little bit about Salt Lake City and that the trailer, we might be teased with it soon. So if that's the case, I think you and I might be back on. If you'll have me back on, I think we'll be back on soon.
I say let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
I think this is going to be a kick-ass, one hell of a season.
I can't wait. This whole Jen Shaw thing.
It's you know, the fact that they're talking about already picking up season 3 by October so they can catch her going in and out of court and what exactly is going to happen. One thing I have to say, and guys, we will get into Potomac, don't worry. I don't understand these women who are so binded by these legal issues continuing to film. I have no freaking clue why they decide to do that because it almost feels like any wrong move, you could completely incriminate yourself.
You know, a part of me wonders if it's because of the check. You know, she has no way to really touch her funds or move her funds around. So this may be the best means for her to continue to sustain somewhat of a lifestyle that she had been accustomed to. I don't know. Listen, at the end of the day, I feel like the house was a sham. So much of the life that we saw on the show was a sham. I don't know what she's doing, and I don't think she has a clue either. I did hear her say on some Instagram, I think it was an Instagram account that had captured her talking about how she was going to be at BravoCon. So that should be interesting as well. So she's going to go from BravoCon to court.
Are you going to be going to BravoCon?
I would love to go. I mean, it's just really a matter of whether or not I can get the tickets when they go on sale. Because I think if you don't get it right then and there, then that can sell out really fast.
Yeah, you're not getting it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Again, guys, we're here to talk about Potomac, so that's exactly what we're about to do. If you haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button. I posted a poll in the live chat asking whether or not you guys would prefer Nicki Minaj or Andy Cohen to host the reunion for Potomac. Right now, everyone's kind of leaning towards Andy Cohen, but Richie, I have a question. Would you like Nicki to be the host of the reunion?
Not really. I would like... I wouldn't mind if she popped in and asked a couple of, viewer questions. I think that could be kind of interesting. But I just think that Nicki is just in a space of, I would prefer to keep her as the queen of rap and let that be that and enjoy the show and continue to promote it. I think that helps drive ratings. But, in terms of, I just don't see her being the host for this show. Again, a cameo pop-up. Hey, y'all, the show was good. The season was good. Candace, I got a question for you, and that's it.
Yeah, or even an after show. I think an after show could be good.
An after show, or just come by, watch what happens live, girl.
Yeah, okay. All right, I like that. Have we heard, actually, if she, is this all just one big rumor, or are they saying that she might actually do it?
I don't know. I mean, she's showing text message correspondences between, I guess her publicist and him saying that, Andy's on board with it. I don't know. I just took it as a joke, but it did lead me down a path of wondering at a certain point in time, it would probably be smart to start bringing in additional people to host these reunions, because when you rely on one person for one thing for such a long time, then they kind of become invaluable and synonymous with that thing. So if Andy should ever decide, you know what, I'm going to pull a Bethany and I'm going to go someplace else, it would have been smarter to already have brought in some other people that could do these hosting duties. It's somebody good,
Right. No, that makes sense. And I have to take a page out of your book. I don't know if you guys have been living under a rock and you haven't been by DJ Richie Skye's channel, you have to go check him out. Every time you start a live and you start talking about an episode, you always ask your viewers, what would you rate this episode? And then you go through what you call the chatterization, and you start, looking and seeing, you get ones, tens, everything in between. I have to say, for episode 4, it didn't keep me as much as the first 2 episodes, but I just want to ask your opinion. How did you feel about it?
I rated this week's episode a 9.5. I tend to rate Potomac on a higher scale than I did Atlanta because I wasn't as interested in the stories in Atlanta this past season. But I took away a point because I felt like some things are going on with the edits of the show and really in this episode in particular, Ascala, the friend of, she's inserting herself into the story and into the situations, but we don't know enough about her to care yet. And I blame that on producers because I feel like we should have more information about her. It would have been nice to set her up in the beginning with maybe a scene of just her and Robyn having some dialogue and then giving us some backstory on her, because right now she just feels like this extra person thrown into the mix to cause a little chaos. And I can't care about her if I don't know her.
And I actually have to piggyback off that for a second, because when we do see her, we see her in group scene settings, and, having her come in, it almost does feel like, oh, I know what they want. The producers want me to go in and start taking jabs. And that's maybe a way that I can, solidify my position on the show. But like you said, we don't know you. So your jabs no one really understands them.
Yeah, it doesn't land the same because we don't even know who you are. So you're saying I can't hold my tongue any longer. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what? You haven't been here long enough to be frustrated.
You just got here.
You just got here.
Okay, well, we see in this episode, Giselle and Robyn, they're launching a podcast, the Reasonably Shady podcast. She says that Robyn's reasonable. She says that she's shady. I could be shady when it comes to the outfit choices. But then again, I can't because I'm always wearing black because I don't have any fashion sense. So I have to say, though, what do you think about this dynamic and how do you feel about the podcast? Do you think it's going to be good, or are you like, I could just leave it. We can see you on Potomac. That's all we need.
Well, I think now, obviously podcasting is a really popular thing to do. I think it's also not as simple as people think it is. So it does require some work. So I'm wondering if they'll be able to go the distance with this podcast. And it's not just something for when the season is airing. So I'm curious about that. Also know that Giselle immediately shades Robyn's work ethic. So I don't know if that may be a dilemma down the line as well, because clearly she was indicating that her work ethic is probably a little bit more like foot to the metal than Robyn, who seems to present a more lazy image.
Right. And, this whole season, we're already 4 episodes in, and that's exactly what we're getting from Robyn. We see her waking up her kids like 2 minutes before they have to go on their Zoom calls. We see her not wanting to get up and exercise. And I have to say, too, going through the pandemic, it made a lot of us lazier. Some of us, there was the silver lining where it pushed us to go out and do things, but it was easy to be lazy. And when she said, at one point I was drinking wine at 8 a.m., I'm like, I remember when we just thought the world was coming to an end. And at one point I would wake up Jason and be like, here's, waffles and also champagne. Let's have a mimosa because there's nothing else, to do. So I kind of get it, but I'm like, come on, you have the world by the, and right now you're on this amazing show. You have this great platform. What are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know. It begs the question to me. Because I felt like it was a little bit contradictory because, last week we were finding out that she didn't get up until 2 a.m, but this week she's drinking at 8 a.m. So I'm like, girl, you're not even up at that time. But taking that aside, I do kind of feel like it's difficult to tell whether or not this is depression or it is just as a result of being in a pandemic and not knowing what to do. So right. I try to toe the line between that because I know that it could be a very fine line to walk between, talking about depression and is this what she's dealing with, or is it mostly just the pandemic, or is she lazy? It's one of three things. And it seems like from Juan's perspective, she is lazy. It seems like from Giselle's perspective, she is lazy. It seems from her perspective, it's the pandemic. But the larger concern could be, are you okay mentally?
Right. No, I agree with that. And giving it to Giselle, she does Bravo's chat room. She's always doing like these different ads and promotions. She's still working. She's still a mom of 3 kids. She does, you can say anything you want about her, but she does have a good work ethic. I think that's obvious.
I agree. I think that the woman does work. She puts in the work, she puts in the effort, and she does make the show go round.
Well, I also just want to kind of add this in really quick. This past week, I ran into one of, your friends, our friends, and I thought that they were great. I just have to bring this up really quick. I ran into Monique, hung out with her and Chris a couple times. She absolutely loves Jason. Such a good time. They were in Palm Beach, and she had nothing but great things to say about you. We actually talked about you a little bit. And I was like, damn, just even sitting here talking with you, I miss you on this show. She's like, I haven't even watched that show. I'm like, no, I know. I'm sure you haven't. Why would you? But I miss you on the show. And she's just like, I'm better off now. I'm happy. I'm good. I was like, shit, can we not get you back at all? No.
Yeah, she's so awesome, man. And I tell you, I feel like the show doesn't really give. And I think as you probably know now, the show doesn't really give what she gives in real life.
Right. No, and honestly, now after meeting her and her family, I'm like, you guys could have totally had your own, like meeting her sister and meeting, just everyone. I'm like, you guys have your own dynamic. You could have done your own sort of spin-off show that would just be based around you guys. And you really didn't need Potomac. Sure, it's like a launching pad for Monique, for the world to kind of figure out and see who she was or is. But it like you said, it doesn't really give her the full, or give us the viewers the full kind of spectrum of who she really is and how great she is in person. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we also found out there was this pajama party yesterday, or on last night's episode, and I didn't know about this until I read in the headlines. Dr. Wendy Osefo addressed why she was a little bit off at the pajama party, and she said it was because her and Giselle got into kind of a back and forth as soon as she walked in. She said Giselle was telling her pretty much, don't ever interrupt me, especially at the nude interlude party. Don't interrupt me when I'm talking to Karen. It's not your place. And they had a little bit of a back and forth. It kind of shows you, and we've seen it many times, so we don't have to question this, but it kind of shows you there's really no, unless you're Robyn and Giselle, there's really no loyalty on this show, because you might think that you're in cahoots one moment, and then 2 minutes later, this person's against you. And for Dr. Wendy Osefo, she went to bat trying to defend Giselle against Mia when Mia was kind of flip-flopping on her. And now it's coming back to bite her in the,
what's so funny? I'd seen that, and I did a video doing kind of like a deeper dive discussion on that. And it's not going to come out until tomorrow, but I was doing it, and I was thinking to myself, so I'm so glad you brought this up. I feel like we're not seeing the full breadth and scope of the demise of Giselle and Wendy's friendship. And it was a huge mistake not to show that scene, because I think it really informs a part of the reason why Wendy is going to react to Giselle the way that she does.
Right. No,
huge mistake.
And finding out about these scenes later, it kind of annoys you, because it's like, okay, so we had champagne pong or Prosecco pong, whatever you want to call it, but really you should have given us the good, because maybe your 9.5 rating would have been a 10. Like, this is something that we need, because it's a build up to see eventually where we're getting to. And like Dr. Wendy Osefo said, I feel like I always have to say doctor at the beginning, especially after reminding us a million times that she was 4 degrees. But like she said, for every relationship gained this season, there were 2 relationships that were lost. And we're kind of getting a lot of cotton candy content as opposed to the real buildup of what's actually going on.
Exactly. I don't like it.
Okay. Well, we also see in this episode, and I'm going to get back to the pajama party in a minute, but we see in this episode where Candace makes it to the studio, and she's talking about her music. We see a little bit of this song that she's putting out because she's working on this album, right? And then she talks about her husband, Chris, and why he couldn't make it because he was at a catering job. Now, I had to just talk about this because, listen, Candace kind of went in on me on Twitter, so that's, and I didn't really give
She
a lot.
did?
Yeah, she went in on me after my Fallon interview. Actually, Chris was the one who sparked this. Chris went on and said, Fallon, I'm so excited to hear your truth, but I wish you wouldn't have done it with Adam because Adam is a hashtag fraud. I'm like, hashtag what? For what? And he's like, the way that you put my wife out there and talked about her and you took sides after she gave you an interview when you're a low budget blogger. I'm like, man, I don't have time for this. Like, you guys, like, this is a pattern, and it did end up in a little bit of back and forth, but watching yesterday, I just had to have this like little moment of shadiness because I have people in my family who, are in the catering business and they kill it. They make great money and that's their job. But I don't have people in my family who are in the catering business and they're like, hold on, wait, I'm going to help you put together this sushi platter. But then over here, I got to get to the studio and help manage my wife. I'm like, what are we doing here? And is this dynamic going to work? Chris actually help elevate Candace's career as a manager?
It's a difficult question because, as he stated, he doesn't have any experience in this area.
Right.
There's the concern from Candace's mom that this is what he's doing. How is he making his income? And these are questions that her mother is asking, and we're seeing it happen on the show. I, too, also know people who work in the catering field, and they are extremely busy. And
Right.
maybe it goes to the level or how deep they are in the business. I don't know. But just in thinking about the workload that I hear them talking about, it doesn't seem like they would have really much time to invest in, his wife's singing career. But that's just from my limited perspective. Not only that, but there are also the two kids that were in the house. So they need to be, kind of managed and cared for. So I don't know how he would really have a lot of time for that. But what I do know is, however they got it done, she signed to E1 Nashville, I think. And the album is coming out, the 24th of September, I think. So they somehow got it done.
Right. Right. And, I guess that's really all I have to say about that. But you're right. Like she's busy. She's going to school. She's trying to manage an acting career, a music career, being on a reality TV show. I couldn't even imagine, while also tending to what she calls her bonus children. I feel like this is a full-time job. I'm interested to see how it plays out and if she continues to have her husband represent her. But I guess with that, just time will tell.
I mean, I wouldn't advise it personally, because I think as you attempt to get bigger and bigger in this industry, you will really want a manager that has connections. Okay. You don't want a manager, and this is just as somebody who's worked in the industry, as a DJ and then working in A&R as well. You don't want someone that has zero connections. You want someone that can go in, negotiate deals for you, knows what they're talking about, and can take you to the next level.
Right. Right. All right. Well, I want to touch on this, but before I do, really quick, Gene, thank you so much. My two favorite men, love you both. Thank you for the super sticker, super chat. I always mess those two up, but I want to go to Ashley Darby for a second, pan over. Ashley Darby is about to give birth to her second baby in this episode. So congratulations to Ashley Darby. But in the meantime, other headlines have come out saying that Michael Darby may have potentially, hey, this isn't shady. This was just the first photo, right? But Michael Darby.
No, you know what's funny is every time I go to make a thumbnail, that is the photo that pops up. And that is what I use.
It's on, guys, it's on Google Images. But, Michael Darby's there. He seems like he's supportive of his wife and they're, welcoming the second baby. Kudos to them. That's exciting. But then he drops this kind of bomb on her, letting her know, I think I'm going to get into the movie business. She's like, the hell are you talking about? He's like, well, as an investor, maybe a production company, something like that. Now, from what we know about Michael Darby, he's really good in business, but I feel like every business requires something different. And it seems like it would be a challenge to start dabbling into something completely new like Hollywood, right? Well, for her, she's questioning it. And she's like, why are you doing this right before we have a second kid? Do you think that this is something, because I also look at it on the other side and I'm like, well, he's an investor. And as an investor, you invest in things and, you put a team in place who can kind of take this to the next level. Do you think this is possible? Can he succeed in the movie business?
I just pray that it doesn't end up like a Sonia Morgan type of deal. But Michael seems a little bit smarter than that on the business front. So I don't know. What's funny is that it sounded to me like he was already on the path of doing it. And
right.
He was just telling her. And so the train was already in motion. That's the way I received the conversation. So I understand why she's concerned, because not only is that her investment as well, should anything go wrong in that marriage, but they also have a baby on the way. And if he's investing, that means that he could potentially also have to be traveling back and forth to Hollywood. So he could be traveling even more than he's traveling now, which also gives her cause for concern. But do I think he can do it? Yes. Do I think he should do it? I don't know, because I don't know how active he wants to be in that arena. But it sounds like he wants to be on top of these things, like not just a silent investor.
Right. And he even kind of questioned, like telling her in this moment, he's like, maybe I should have waited until after she had the baby or something. But I do want to say this really quick, too. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I know Ashley didn't mean to do this. Again, guys, if you haven't, smash that like button on your way in. But Ashley was like, I just want to protect our investments because he has two children to think about. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, he has more than two. And being, I've had so many step parents, and I've had, step parents come and go, and they've always kind of made their kids, the priority, and then said, like to my dad, so-and-so, I don't want to say his name, but so-and-so, like, we need to make sure that Jack is okay and he's going to be, good for the rest of his life. So whatever you do, I'm like, Jack, the hell, you just got here 2 years ago. What do you mean, Jack? What about Adam? Like, is Adam going to be okay? And I'm thinking about it from his kid's perspective, watching this. And I'm like, they're probably like, Ashley, Darby, we're here too. It's not just Dean and the new baby and you. There's also us. And we were here a lot longer and way before you.
I didn't even think about that. Didn't even think about that at all.
Yeah, I caught it.
Wow.
I was like, damn.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, how that comes to fruition. What types of movies is he investing in? I see some comments that said XXX. So it will be interesting to see what that turns out to be.
Yeah, well, all right. So that's another one, just like Candace and the Chris and the career thing. We're just going to have to wait and see how these certain things play out. But I do want to circle back really quick to Mia Thornton. Are we liking her so far this season, or are you like casting? What the hell are we doing?
I personally love her and the chaotic energy that she is bringing to the season. She's unpredictable to me. She's has an effervescent personality that I feel like, and she seems blithely unfazed by, people coming at her. You know what I mean? And she reminds me, it makes me think about, and I said this earlier, I think, about vintage Real Housewives of New York, wherein these women will fight like cats and dogs, and 2 seconds later, okay, I'm sorry. And that was what we saw with her and Giselle in this episode. It was like, a crazy amount of drama, only for her to just shockingly apologize, own it, and then try to move forward. That's the type of housewives I like.
Right. What conflict and resolution, which it takes a big person to do this. And, I'm not trying to shade her as a big person, because Candace shaded her as a big person with her big feet. And then I didn't realize how tall she actually is. I was like, oh shit, she's a tall woman. But it makes you see, okay, she's the bigger person here. And when Giselle and Robyn, first of all, if Giselle and Robyn ever texted me and I was on the show and they said, hey, we want to take you out, but alone, I'd be like, there's no freaking way. This is a trap. You're going to get me saying something, or you're going to ask me questions and try to put me on the spot. And then you're going to try to make me look stupid. And I feel like we've seen this so many times with Giselle and Robyn, because they're right in it together. Right. But for Mia, they texted her and said, we want to take you out for drinks, but not with Karen. And Mia took that as like, you're not going to tell me who I'm going to bring, and you're not going to kind of control the situation and be like, well, we want to hang out with you, but you have to come by yourself. Then, of course, her texts were a little bit shady, and she's like, I'm busy. You can get with my assistant. And I'm like, okay, you kind of lost them there because everybody who's on the show is busy in their own way. But like you said, she did apologize for it.
I think first of all, there was apparent shade in the text that Giselle sent, but it wasn't necessarily towards Mia. I think it was more or less towards Karen, right? But the implication and the impact was that she's telling Mia what to do. I think a better way of testing that would have just been like, hey, girl, we didn't really get a chance to talk. I would love to, sit down with you, you, and Robyn and just have some drinks.
Right.
That's what anybody else would have done. And I feel like in real life, that would have been what would have happened. But they were specific about it was just basically like saying, don't invite Karen. We don't want her here. So I think that's why it came up. The whole thing fell apart.
No, I agree with you. And, she picked up on it. And one thing I have to say is in these text messages, she made it seem like she's so busy. And then we see her in her little scenes where she's going to the joint chiropractic and, she's a businesswoman, that's amazing, right? She has kids and a family, and watching her go to the computers and then she's adjusting the brochures. I'm like, that's exactly what an owner would do when they walk in. Right. And then she's like, what do we have on the books? It kind of reminded me, I've worked for a housewife before and I've seen other housewives, but watching them when producers are like, we want to film you in your element, in your business. She kind of seemed, and this isn't shade, she kind of seemed like she walked in and she was like, I don't know what the hell's going on, but I'll play on the computer over here. I'll see what's happening over here. I'll adjust a few brochures. And she's like, hey, Dennis, is it good today? We have a lot of business. He's like, my name is Maurice. What the hell are you talking about? And she's like, right, that's great. That didn't happen. But dividing, like she only went there for the cameras.
You know what? Okay, so this is kind of off topic, but I have to tell you guys about this. So I was just rewatching this the other day. Real Housewives of Miami, season 2, episode 1. They introduce Karen, who is a dentist. And what she does is, and they played this scene spectacularly. And I wish that we could have had something like this. She walks into the dentist's office and she walks up to the reception desk as if she's a patient. She taps on the thing. She says, hi, how are you today? And the girl greets her. Hi, so good to see you. And then she walks behind the thing and the girl is standing up and putting her lab coat on her. So it totally changed the narrative and how you saw this woman when she first enters the scene. I wish they could have been a little bit more creative with it than what they gave us last night, because you're right. It did seem like we're just filming this scene because we need to show you in your element.
Right. And, I had Layla Lynn on last week with me and she was talking about Potomac.
Oh my God, I love her.
Yeah, she's great. Oh, she said the same thing about you. She's like, I love DJ Richie. I'm like, man, everybody loves DJ Richie. All right.
I love her. She is amazing. I've never worked with her or anything like that. I just love her content.
Oh my gosh. You have to do a collab soon because you guys would be amazing together. She was talking about, I asked her, I said, how do you feel about Mia and what do you think about G in this dynamic? And she just straight up said, I don't like it. I feel like, the way that he kind of puts her down and he's just like, you need to focus more time on the kids and instead of letting her be a businesswoman, what do you want her to do? Like, you were a businessman for so long and now she's filling those shoes and you're getting upset with her and you're at home with the kids and you're not focusing on the business. So just be at home with the kids and take over. And on my side, I was kind of thinking, well, I agree with him to a certain extent. Like, there does have to be a healthy balance. If you're telling the kid you're going to take them, to X, Y, and Z, then you should probably fulfill that, and follow through, as opposed to just being like, oh, sorry, babes, it's the third time, like I can't make it. Mom's busy. And I can see where that would be frustrating as well.
I think I can understand her perspective on it because the way it comes across, it's like he's warning her. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of, and as I hear him speak, I'm like, oh girl, you might want to, just go home today. Because that's how it came across. But I also know, just like you said too, it's like when you are a couple or when you're married or you're in a relationship or you have any type of partnership, it's not always going to be equal. There will be times when you have walked the dog 3 or 4 days that week. And Jason may not be able to walk the dog. And you may be like, listen.
Yesterday. It just happened. Literally, this just happened.
You might be like, well, I mean, you might want to say, well, I just did it the other day. And you should spend some time with our kid too, you know, but he just may not be able to do it. And so you're going to have to pick up the slack, and you can't count the times that it's been done.
Right. Oh, yeah. We just did this. This is like
as much as you're counting in your head. Trust me, I know, but you can't do it, right?
You can't do it. You can't do it. It starts a problem. I get it. I did this yesterday. I was like, Jason, I walked the dogs twice. He's like, great. I was working today and you weren't. So you can walk them a third time. I was like, that's not fair. He's like, life's not fair. Go walk the dogs. I'm like, okay. Calm down, Woosah. I got this. All right. Getting back to the pajama party, we see Giselle walk in, and it's a pajama party. And I have to say, I think Mia brought it the most with her pajamas not Mia, sorry, Dr. Wendy Osefo, because she's still trying to show off that body. And that's exactly what she's doing. And then Giselle and Robyn came in, and we know they've been attacked numerous times. And I use attacked loosely. They're not actually attacked, but they've been criticized for their fashions numerous times. And then this pajama party did not help anything. Robyn walks in with I don't know what the hell she's wearing with her blue headband. And then Giselle walks in with like what Karen called a psychedelic fake Versace robe. I don't know what that was. And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, man, it's just pajamas. Like if I'm in my pajamas, I'd probably look like hell. But you can't walk in this, what she's calling a fake psychedelic Versace, and then walk in and be like, hey, hater. And I'm like, you're already starting. You just walked in. What is it? This is like, you want to take your shot, take a breath? No, let's go in on Karen. That's what's happening.
It was the fireball shot talking. Maybe it was that.
That fireball hit in like 3 seconds.
Let me say something. I hate Fireball, okay? It is the worst liquor in the world. And I hate actually talking about a brand like that, but it is an instant headache. And I don't know why they keep drinking it on this show.
Because it gets
I'm done.
It gets
I'm done.
Honestly, Jaeger, Fireball, and tequila for me, those are 3 that I can't drink for numerous reasons. But one, the taste just, you're right, it gets me. But no, she walks in and she's still shady as hell. And, you know, we get into it, but it wasn't as shady as Candace explaining to the women, you know, when she was asked, did you invite Ashley? She's like, oh, I forgot. How do you forget when your cast is, you can count your cast on 2 hands. How do you forget that? Oh, well, she's pregnant. You know, she's probably dilating or whatever anyway. So she's good. She's about to give birth. So she wouldn't have come anyways. Right. But that still makes a person feel like shit when you don't invite them, like they're excluded. That's not the way to go about it. Did she actually forget, or were we just getting a little bit of Candace's, Candace, I didn't do that on purpose. Seriously. Candace's shadiness.
I personally think that it was a couple of things. I don't know that Ashley would have been able to actually come because Ashley has been dragged around to so many events and she looks like she is ready to pop at any point in time. Right. She's literally traveling to dinner with her hospital go bag as her and Michael discuss this movie venture. So for me, I feel like in real life, if I don't like you, I'm not inviting you. Okay. Right. I mean, that's just what it is. So I felt like hopefully this was a representative of a real life moment wherein she knows I don't like you. You don't like me. I don't want you in my house no more. And the last time Ashley came to her house, she threw a butter knife at her.
Yeah. Yep. That happened. You're right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I perceive this to be a little bit shady, and I don't think you could forget about your cast member, especially when. How did you remember
it was definitely shady.
Yeah. How do you remember the one that nobody knows yet? But you forget Ashley. Michael Darby is more of a housewife. He brings more than the other housewives. How do you forget them? He's like literally the main talk of Potomac. Usually, this season he's getting a pass so far. We don't know yet.
So far
he's good.
So far.
Okay. All right. And then there was another shady moment here. And I love Karen Huger because I think, was it your interview that she did? I know you guys did an interview and she kind of opened up about the fact that when she came on to Potomac, she tried to present herself in a certain way. And these aren't her words verbatim, but just it gets exhausting to kind of hold up this image. And eventually it's easier to be your most authentic self. Was that you?
Yeah. We did have a conversation about that.
Right. So, I'm loving Karen more and more. And I think it is because she is her most authentic self. And not only that, I think she brings the fashions more than anyone, which is something I like to see on The Real Housewives. But as soon as Robyn walks in, it's like attacking somebody when they're weak, because when she doesn't have Giselle, Robyn cannot, she like flounders, right? So as soon as Robyn walks in and she sits down, she's like, are you planning the wedding yet? No, you're not planning the wedding. I'm like, Karen, you know that this is like, you know what you're doing, and she's like, no, well, I'm planning my anniversary wedding, so we're good. And Robyn's like, no, I don't want to be shortchanged. And Karen's just pretty much like, girl, call it what it is. It's not being shortchanged. Like we've been doing your wedding for 6 seasons now. What the hell is happening?
But Robyn did have a little clap back in her new confessional where she said that she doesn't want to have a super spreader wedding. And so I'm assuming that was a jab at Karen. But my thought was, didn't your friend Giselle attend Cynthia Bailey's wedding? And people were calling that a super spreader. No, I'm not calling it that, but I'm just saying, if we're going by Robyn's definition, then that would be an alleged super spreader. So,
right. Well, I think that she probably wasn't thinking about that when she said it in the confessional. She was probably like one track right on Karen. But
absolutely.
And I can see what Robyn's saying too. And honestly, the way I look at it is that's a very easy cop out, because right now it does not seem like Juan Dixon is very happy with Robyn and her laziness, because that's what we're getting. I'm not saying she's lazy, but we're getting that from Juan, like we heard about, on the show. He's a coach. He's very disciplined. He's like, get up, work out, start your day. Let's get it going. And Robyn's in this completely different mindset right now. And that would obviously start some problems, because if he's looking at this like, oh, are we going to do this again and get married again? You want to make sure your life partner's motivated and ready to go. Right. And imagine if she didn't have this platform, how motivated would you be then? Eventually it's bound to happen, Robyn. It's not shade at all. I think, it takes a very specific kind of personality to be a housewife. And if you can't cut it, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because we need these eccentric women who are over the top, who can scream at you 1 minute and then 30 seconds later, they're like, you know what? I just thought about it and I'm sorry. And for Robyn, we get her as I feel like Giselle is saving her job every season.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, here's the thing. What Robyn could have done, and there was an opportunity here, was for her to have a simple, pandemic safe wedding, where she and Juan did something at this new place that they're building, or something right in their own backyard, something very intimate and between the two of them, because they need that moment. Because otherwise, to be quite honest with you, and I want to ask you this, and I want to ask the viewers, do you think that Robyn and Juan are going to get married?
Honestly, no. And I look at it from, thinking about coming out of the tax problems. And we know that Robyn's definitely not the highest paid in Potomac, right? That has to be an obvious. And they're building this new house. This is their dream house. And they're kind of coming back up on their finances, building everything again. I would take advantage of a lesser wedding, something that's not so big and expensive, and I would throw it during the pandemic and be like, you know what, I'm going to invite a few of the women, some of my friends. Let's have 20 to 30 people, really spaced out outside, keep it intimate, and then I can keep my money. That's how I would have looked at it. But I don't think this is going to happen. I don't see it happening. See, we're hearing, no, they are not getting married. No, heck no. I think it's for the show. Nope, nada. Robyn brings nothing. Okay. They're being shadier than I am, but everyone's saying no.
See, nobody's believing it. And so that's problematic right there.
I agree.
Nobody believes it.
I agree with that. And, there was a rumor that Robyn was going to be fired after season 5, that she wasn't going to be coming back. And she even tweeted out or responded saying, like, I didn't hear that rumor, news to me. And then we ended up getting her back. There was also rumors that we got her back because Monique decided that she didn't want to be a part of the show anymore. So they needed a familiar face, and maybe that saved her job. But now that we're starting to be introduced to Mia Thornton and, a few new women, I really don't know how, if you had to guess, and if you don't want to, totally okay. Robyn has made it 6 seasons, but how much more longevity does she actually have on the show? Like Melissa Gorga, we know why you stay on the show. Your husband brings a lot. Teresa, like you have this dynamic. It saves you. And I also like Melissa Gorga. But like for a housewife like Robyn, how long can you actually stay around and follow in Giselle's shadow? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how long that can continue to happen because she does place herself in the shadow of another woman, it seems. And I think that there's nothing wrong with having a Melissa Gorga type character. I like her as well. I understand her role on the show, so I get it. And there's nothing wrong with having that neutral character who is kind of like the narrator to all of the craziness, right?
Right.
You sometimes need that, but Robyn doesn't provide that. What she provides is an extra sort of like backup for Giselle. And because she doesn't stand on her own, because she doesn't maneuver on her own with the rest of the women, it just kind of seems like we really don't have any more need for you beyond the fact that we've had 4 OGs on this show, which is probably one of the longest running franchises with that many OGs.
Okay. And in my opinion, I would think, honestly, it would be more exciting, and I'm not trying to cost anybody their job, but I would think it would be more exciting to see Giselle have to stand on her own without that extra support and backup, because we all know Giselle has the ability. This is why I feel like she is kind of looked at as the, what is the word? She's kind of like, when you think of Potomac, you really think of Giselle Bryant, right? So I feel like she brings so much shadiness. She's constantly like digging and prodding and getting on people's nerves and keeping the storylines going. But then she sits back and she's like, with Robyn right here. Oh, you want to come after me? Robyn, do you see that? Like, I would love to see this extra body not there to see how Giselle would kind of form or navigate her relationship with Karen. Would she be as hard on Karen if she didn't have Robyn supporting her, and maybe she would need that extra person and have to build on that relationship? Would she be as confident? Like I would want to see that Giselle.
I think it would definitely level the playing field.
Right. Okay. Well, moving into, next week's episode, I think that we're going to see more with Karen and Giselle. We get more conversations about Ray. I don't know why Karen brought up the Ray topic this many seasons later, but I'm sure she has a good reason. So I'm curious to see how this goes. And I also want to see when Giselle, you can't just tell somebody, I'm going to expose you for your cheating, you're drinking, you're this, you're fraud, and say all of these things. And she's like, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to drop little tidbits throughout the season. I haven't seen one thing. Did you just say that for a moment? I want to see deliver on your words. That's what I want to see.
I honestly don't think that she has anything. I think she just wanted to scare Karen with something, and then they'll probably pull out something that Karen has allegedly said about not liking, something about Ray or something like that, because that's all they've had in the past.
I can see that. And I also I find it ironic that everybody was so shady towards Karen and her businesses. And they're like, oh, she has a perfume bottle with no perfume. It was like, it gave me Sheree Whitfield vibes went on Atlanta when she had She by Sheree, but no actual fashion. So they were so hard on her because she was like, well, I have a new business. And they're like, oh God, Karen has a new business. But Karen's business is the one that's thriving the most. Absolutely. Home shopping network. She's able to do all of these other different things. And I think that they dramatically underestimated Karen. I agree with that. And, we hear that Robyn's business is doing really well. And I asked Layla, what did she think? And she said, well, I have 2 of her hats and I think it's a great hat. It's great quality. The price is good. And we see Robyn in her little mini warehouse kind of situation and she's filling orders. So maybe she's doing good, but didn't Giselle, her makeup line, that was shut down, right?
Yes, it was shut down.
Okay. And Dr. Wendy Osefo trying to launch a candle line. That's like the most housewife thing ever to do. I feel like she's following in the footsteps of what it would be like to be like, okay, I'm being housewifeitized. Like I got the boob job. I'm tweaking my face a little bit. I'm glamming up a little bit more, changing my fashions. I'm going to launch a candle line. It's like, okay, we really liked you because you were Dr. Wendy Osefo, the political commentator. You didn't give a crap. You brought something different to the season. And now I feel like she's starting to conform to what she thinks a housewife is. I'm getting that vibe. Am I wrong?
I hadn't looked at it like that, but I think you have something there because truthfully, we didn't really get, I would love for them to dive more into her work as a political commentator, because I think they keep using the same two clips, and I'm sure that's a permission, a network type thing, but I would love to have seen more of that before she dived into something else. Because last season, the big thing was, I want to leave teaching, or she was unsure about teaching because she really wanted to go full throttle into, the political commentary. And there's nothing wrong with chasing your dreams of being the next Martha Stewart or whatever it is that you want to be. But let me get adjusted to this new space that you're in, and let's explore and investigate that further.
Right. No, and, watching her on the show, even if I agree with you. I think that, if you're not passionate about something, don't make it, your life's work. If you don't want to be a professor, then don't do it just because your family says you need to be a professor and this makes our family look like that. I get that. But watching her, it just seemed like, I feel like we just got a totally Dr. Wendy Osefo, which I'm still invested. I still want to see more in how this is going to work out. But it just makes me, I have those questions, I can't help it. I can't help it. All right.
Good questions.
With that, what storyline, before we go, I have to ask you, and I want to keep this on a positive. And guys, if you haven't, go ahead, smash that like button, and you can follow DJ Richie Skye. I tagged your profile in the description below. But what storyline are you looking forward to most? And do you think Mia Thornton will be able to repair her relationships?
Yeah, I think so. I think that it seems as though Mia doesn't hold grudges, or it seems like she's just kind of, maneuvering through housewives' minefields pretty well. So I'm excited to see, how she rebuilds the relationship with Robyn and Giselle, because based on next week, it looks like things kind of get back on track with the two of them, and hopefully that goes the distance. I think the thing that I'm still looking forward to the most, though, is this breakdown between Wendy and Giselle. I'm just really curious to see how that plays out, because it's been hyped up so much.
Right. And this better not be another one of those. It better not be disappointing. Like, we were so excited about Bolo and Strippergate, and then I was like, man. And then we've had this on so many different seasons. By the way, also before we go, this new season of Real Housewives of Orange County is going to be so good. And I know you stopped watching because you weren't a Kelly Dodd fan, who also just teased that she's starting a podcast, by the way. And I'm sure you're not going to be listening to that. But this new season is going to be so good. I hope they can steal you back as a viewer.
I will definitely be watching. I am a huge Heather Dubrow fan. I am excited that she is returning. I'm hopeful, and I'm excited about the new cast members. I had heard about Noella before this season, and I need to understand what happened between her and Bronwyn, because it seems like there was some sort of falling out there. So I'm interested. Okay. And right. Shannon has always been one of my favorites because she's kind of just all over the place. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it this season.
Tamra Judge coming back as a friend role. She's already let us know, if you put me back in the arena, I'm going to rip Shannon apart, because she called me, she blew up my phone all the time. And then the moment that I wasn't on the Housewives anymore, boom, it's like we never knew each other. So she's like, I have a lot to say to Shannon. I'm like, yes, this is going to be so good. And not like stupid coming out of your mouth, like crazy outlandish stuff that just makes you look ignorant good. Like kind of the old school Housewives, like Heather Dubrow said back when we would fight over, did you just break the bow off my cake? Like shit like that.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
That's a little bit more.
I'm excited about that.
All right.
Super excited.
I'm excited too. And with that, thank you so much, Richie. I appreciate you joining me. Again, for everybody in the room, if you haven't followed DJ Richie Skye. Can you please let us know where we can find you? Because you're not only on YouTube.
Yes, you guys can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at DJ Richie Skye, and of course on my YouTube channel. And I'm starting a new YouTube channel as well. It's right now it's called Richie Skye in Real Life. It's just sort of behind the scenes, like vlogs and stuff like that. Just fun stuff, just to have a backup. You know what I mean? You never can be too sure about these YouTube streets. So I just want to make sure I have some backup just in case anything ever happens.
Nice. No, I talked to Jason about that before too, kind of running a backup channel. And he's like, why don't you focus on getting your channel to 100K first? And then maybe we'll talk about a backup channel. I'm like, thanks, Chris Bassett, manager. I will. Okay.
I would say though, just to create one, just to have it there, just as a means of communication. If something ever happens, you never know.
Yeah. It's cover your bases. I like that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
All right, Richie. Well, I appreciate you again. And I'm sure we'll see each other again real soon. And as soon as the trailer drops for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I will be texting you.
Absolutely.
All right. See you next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys. Again, if you haven't already, smash that like button. Go follow DJ Richie Skye. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel because we have more and more coming out every day. I dropped 2 pre-records earlier. We did this live. I have 2 more coming your way within the next hour or 2. So we'll keep you posted. And until next time, see you then. Bye, guys.